Hey everybody, welcome to Couch Potato Racing. My name's Eric. I've been the driver behind the wheel here in the past videos, and I've logged, was it 610 kilometers now on Assetto Corsa Rally, and I thought I would do like an absolute beginners to Assetto Corsa Rally video, tips and tricks type video, non-driving tips and tricks to start out with. Just kind of some setup stuff and some tricks to kind of help you get off on the right foot. So without further ado, let's get started with some of these tricks. So this first tip isn't actually specific to Assetto Corsa Rally. It's kind of applicable to kind of just computing in general. I've got three triple monitors here in front of me, so that's a lot of light coming into my eyes. And I would suggest looking into maybe getting a set of blue light reducing glasses. These are non-prescription. I got these several years ago, and I do find that they do help with eye strain. So if you feel like you've experienced some eye strain or headaches after like looking at your monitor for a long time, maybe check out looking into getting some of these glasses. They might be the trick to help alleviate that a bit. This next tip is in regards to maybe what to focus on driving wise first as an absolute beginner in Assetto Corsa Rally. So here in the game, you'll see there's a race tab and there's rally, time attack, and free practice. What I would suggest maybe focusing on as a beginner is back on the home screen, there's this Assetto Corsa Rally events, and this is just a bunch of challenges to complete. And I would actually suggest starting with the cars section first, specifically the lower class, lower powered cars, like this Mini Cooper S that they have you start out with first. There's the saying, the walk before you can run, and this car is the walking before you're running with some of these more high-powered, trickier cars. So yeah, I would definitely suggest starting out with the challenges, the car challenges, the Mini Cooper S. If we go back to the main screen here, there's a garage page where they list out all the available cars as of now. This is Assetto Corsa 0.2 right now, so there'll be more coming to this, hopefully. And the Mini Cooper S is actually the easiest car that they provide, according to them anyway. They have over here on the right, you can see a section for recommended for, and this car has the lowest or easiest rating on that graph out of all these cars. I believe the only other car that's in this same group and class is the Alfa Romeo here. The Mini Cooper is front wheel drive, this other one's rear wheel drive. And so if you can like somehow kind of stick to these two cars while you're trying to learn all the driving fundamentals and weight transfer, I think that'll help you going forward when you get to some of the faster, trickier cars to drive. It is a little bit weird that they don't have the Alfa Romeo as the next car in the list back on the challenges page. I believe the next car on the list is actually this Fiat, and it's rear-wheel drive, and you can see it's on the graph, it's kind of in that expert level. I have tried it, and it is a bit trickier to drive than the Mini. Suspension's a lot harsher, a little snappier, but it has forced me to kind of pick up left foot braking and heel toe, which I might go over in a future video over some driving basics, driving fundamentals. But I think it would have been more ideal to have the Alpha. Let's go back to that challenges page. Yeah, here's the Fiat's up next, and then you have to unlock a certain amount of medals before you can get to other cars. So I have unlocked the Alpha down here, but when you're first starting out, that'll be locked. I think until you get like 10 medals. Maybe you can do the Mini. There's 6 medals there. Then maybe you can take that Mini and go to some of these locations and practice there to earn some more medals. That will hopefully unlock the Alpha, which I would maybe recommend doing next, and then maybe coming back to the Fiat or this Peugeot next. So that's just a suggestion there on maybe some of the easier cars to start out with. Um, yeah, so that's that tip. Let's move on to the next one. So this next one's kind of fun. If you go to your profile, there's a driver co-driver section here, and here you can put in your driver and co-driver's name and their nationalities. What's neat about this is that these actually show up on the car in the game. So if I go back and if we look at our car that I have right now, you can actually see my driver and co-driver's names and their country flags here. So that's just kind of a cool touch to add some customization to your car in the game. Choose some fun names. I've kind of chosen just some fun names here, but yeah, play around with that and make that your own. So just a fun little tip there. All right, so this next tip revolves around Pacenotes. I'm new to rallying. I've watched YouTube clips and stuff, but I've never really understood what the Pacenotes, what they meant when they were being called out. And so that's one of the trickiest things I think when you're first starting out in a cyclocross rally, is just trying to getting on terms with what those pace notes mean. And here in the rally encyclopedia area, over here they have a great section where they go over all the pace notes, what they mean. You can go through the different sections. There's a lot to read, but if you take the time to read it, it'll pay off, and you'll be able to kind of get driving faster, not having to rely on the visual pace notes as much. You'll still need to rely on the audio ones for sure if you decide to turn the visual ones off, but you at least know what's coming up, and how to start preparing for that next turn or hazard ahead. So definitely take the time to check this out and get familiar with what they all mean, and it'll lead you on the path of success. So this next tip is something you'll definitely have to do before you start driving, and that is set up all your inputs, whether you're your controller or keyboard or mouse, or if you're doing a steering wheel and pedals like me. I'm going to get that set up before you start driving. And you can do that over here in the settings tab. You can also do this in game as well. There's an inputs section, and here you can, based on what type of gameplay you're doing, you can set up all of your inputs, your steering wheel, your clutches, and set up all your secondary functions. So I'm not gonna go too deep into this, but that's just something you gotta do. You have additional settings over here for setting some more advanced stuff on your pedal inputs, handbrake inputs, and over here in force feedback, you can adjust your force feedback if you're using a gamepad or steering wheel. I personally have the gain set to 65% here in game. I'm using a SynMagic gear, and so in the SynMagic software, I've got my force feedback set to 100% there and 65% here. Just gotta play with it and find what you like. So just get that set up the way you like it, and you'll be set up to start driving. So this next tip revolves around the driver assist, which you'll probably want to play with when you're first starting out. You might need some of them turned on if you're just kind of getting used to things. Those can be found in-game or here from the homepage. You can find those if you go to settings and driving assist. This might depend on your input type, but I have got an H pattern shifter and a handbrake, so I want to have as much immersion as possible. I've got all those kind of set to manual. I've got a lot of the assist turned off right now because I'm starting to get used to a lot of things. And another couple things in here that you can tweak are the engine starter. I personally leave this to automatic. I don't need the immersion factor of pushing a button to turn the car on and off, so I just leave that to automatically turn on and off. The one I have changed here is the start sequence type. There's two options here. There's quick and complete. I personally like to leave it on quick. If you choose complete, when you begin the stage, you'll kind of be spawned at this earlier area where you have to drive from up 100 meters up to where the start point is. I don't really like that, having that delay there, so I choose quick. When you choose quick, you spawn right at the start point, and then you begin your countdown to the stage. So you just pick whichever one you like better there. Put on with that, and yeah, and then we can move on to the next tip. All right, so now we're starting to get into the game, and when you start up a session, you'll come into this service park screen first, And here, if you wanted to, you could change how the car is set up and what tires and stuff it has on it. I would recommend trying to just stick with the default setups until you get used to the car, some of the more maybe basic to intermediate driving fundamentals like left foot braking and heel toe. Just be kind of get yeah, really accustomed to those things before you start making tweaks to the car, to maybe overcome what might be shortcomings, what you think are shortcomings with the car. So just to show the car service area, here there's this repair section, which is more applicable to if you're doing like multi-stage rallies. I haven't actually done those yet. I've just been focusing on the challenges that are single stage. Here you can change your tires setup. It's kind of cool that you can actually change these independently. So over here you could have a hard, over here you could have a medium, down here you could have a soft. So you can actually mix and match these quite a bit. So that's pretty cool. Back over on the car setup page, depending on the car, you can change different things. So with this Mini, it's kind of max of 4 gears, and you can't change suspension or dampers in this Mini, but you can change some other aspects of it. But yeah, for me, I haven't actually touched these at all yet, and I'm like 50 to 60 hours into the game. I've just been trying to get to grasp with weight transfer and just the driving fundamentals at this point. And I'll probably start changing these maybe a little bit in the next, I don't know, 100 or 200 kilometers. I don't know. We'll see. But I'm just having a blast with the default setup, and you can be really quick with the default setups. So yeah, that's just a tip there. All right, so now we're in the game, and these next few tips regard how you see the game and what information is being fed to you. Each car has its own independent kind of field of view camera settings, and you gotta change them to, like, so say I'm just coming in here to the Mini, and this kind of looks all wonky to me. So if I want to adjust, my driver position, if you jump back into the menu over here, there's this camera customization section, and here you can change a lot of things, but how far back you sit, left to right, pitch, height. There's other settings down here regarding like kind of like G-force settings, I think, mostly. I haven't messed with these at all. I think they're kind of like supposed to like simulate kind of sway or forward and backward motion when you're actually driving the car. I haven't noticed them to be like immersion braking or anything, so I've just kind of left them the way they are. But yeah, you definitely want to get these set up when you first get into a car. They do save across sessions, but it's unique per car. So for this Mini, once I make these changes and save, they'll save for future sessions that I use for the Mini. When I get to another car, I'll have to make tweaks there to get it the way I like it. So it's just something you gotta do for each car as you go in. That might change. I'm not sure if that's gonna change in future versions, but as of now, that's how that works. The next tip is going to be regarding the Pacenotes. And by default, they are shown to you visually, and you get them audio, via audio as well. I would suggest trying to wean yourself off the visual as soon as you can. Go review that encyclopedia section, get to know what they mean. It definitely doesn't hurt to have them showing. It's just kind of a little bit of immersion breaker, and it can kind of break your concentration a bit too if you're constantly looking up at those pace notes. Just to show what they look like when you have them on, I'm gonna go ahead and just drive here a little bit, and you can see them popping up here on the screen as I drive. And they're definitely helpful when you're very, starting out. But if you can, try to get yourself off those as soon as possible. Those can be found in the settings section and game options section here. And it's this setting right here. It's either on or off. So when you have those off, and you go back to the game, you'll see that now those pace notes are gone, and you can kind of concentrate on the road a little bit better. It's definitely helpful when you're first starting out, though. So just try to wean yourself off those as fast as you can. The next tip is regarding the rest of the HUD here, heads-up display. I have it turned on in my videos just kind of for the audience to be able to kind of get more of what I'm doing. I personally prefer to have it off just because I think it's more of an immersion factor. And I also find the sector, when you complete a sector, you get like, your delta, if you're slower or faster than your previous session. I find that pretty distracting. I find myself like constantly looking up there to see where I'm at and how I'm comparing. And that just breaks my concentration, and I make a lot more mistakes that way. So I definitely prefer to have it off, but it can be helpful if you don't have, a gear selector. I have another screen here that shows me my gears and RPMs and all that stuff. So if you don't have that, it is definitely helpful to have it on for that. Unfortunately, you can't like turn off certain sections of the HUD right now. So it's either all on or all off, and that's can be found here in the settings, game options, and this bottom one here is the show all or hide all. If you go back with this turned on, you definitely see, it's definitely a lot cleaner look. You can concentrate a lot more on the road with all that stuff off the screen. So just a helpful tip there for like immersion, distraction, avoidance type stuff. I hope these tips were helpful. I'm new to video recording, YouTube, and video editing stuff, so this is probably pretty rough, but hopefully I'll get better over time here. So yeah, do the whole like, subscribe, comment thing if you found this helpful or want to follow along. I'm going to be doing a lot more Assetto Corsa rally content here. I just fallen in love with this game, so I'll probably be stuck on it for a while. So hope to see you in future videos and have fun driving.